Greetings and welcome to Education in Focus, powered by Chalkboard News. I am Dan McCaleb, Vice President of News and Content at Franklin News Foundation, publisher of ChalkboardNews.com. Chalkboard is a news website dedicated to issues related to kindergarten through 12th grade education, and Chalkboard's editor, Brendan Clary, is joining me today to discuss an issue that's not the greatest thing necessarily to talk about, but it's an important thing that's going on in schools, and parents certainly should be aware of it. And that has to do with when a child comes out to a teacher or a counselor or a school administrator while at school and questions their gender identity. There's been debates going on across the country, Brendan, and you've covered this pretty extensively at chalkboardnews.com. Within school districts themselves, within state legislatures even, what educators should do when a child comes out to them and admits they're having questions about their gender identity. And the response, I guess, is pretty predictable. Red states and blue states have different approaches to it. Many blue states have said that if they were to tell that child's parent that child could, I hate to use the word danger from a parent, but that there could be significant concerns about telling that student's parents. In other areas, they're adamant that parents have a right to know and schools are obligated to tell those parents. Tell us about this, Brandon.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail, right on the head, Dan. The question really, I think, revolves around, in sort of the broad scheme of things, it sort of revolves around, are schools there to help parents raise their kids, or are they to serve children and protect them? In some cases, they would argue from their parents, right? And so this mentality that, if a student comes out of school to teachers or to a counselor as transgender, then do they have a responsibility? Should they tell parents that that's going on? And, you do have some administrators and some school districts saying, like, absolutely not. That is not our guard. We have to do, that's not our duty. We have to do everything we can to keep students safe. We're here for them to make safe and supporting learning environments and, sort of this mentality of like wraparound services and protecting them. But then, you have a sort of a divide in red states, where lawmakers are saying things like, it's very important. And some school boards saying the same kind of thing. It's important that parents know what's going on at schools. And if there was something like this that wasn't gender related, if it was a bullying incident or if it was some other kind of health problem, you would obviously tell parents that this is going on. So we have a duty to let parents know. So I think you hit it right on, the nail right on the head there, that this is sort of the divide. And it's, across the country, there's different legislation. There's bills introduced that would require districts to disclose, a transgender student's identity to parents. So that's like Arkansas, California, Hawaii, Iowa, Kentucky. I mean, the list kind of goes on and on of these states that have seen legislation. Some of those states, that probably won't go anywhere. It's been introduced, but it's going to die in committee, that kind of thing. But, we have seen some states that have had a lot of parental rights bills, and that is sort of a push, especially in red states, to have, parents be in the know about anything that's going on there. So it's, as you've said, it's been a hot button thing, and I think it's going to continue to be a hot button thing in school board meetings this fall.
California's gone the other way, not surprisingly. In fact, they've taken legal action against a couple of California school districts who want to notify parents. I guess if you keep this secret for the child, how long does it, say the child's in fourth grade or fifth grade, are you keeping that secret from their parents for 5, 6, 7 years? And what's that child's life like at home anyway, where they're identifying as one gender at school and another at home? That's got to be confusing. And I don't know. I don't get it, and I don't see how you can keep such an important piece of information away from parents.
Yeah, I've seen that mentioned actually in some of the policies from school boards, and I think some of those even in California of, this is important that we create like a mediation sort of setting, and that we can tell students that we're going to tell their parents before, so that they have an opportunity to go and tell their parents. I've sort of made this declaration to my teachers, and I've made a request that I'm called a different a different pronoun at school. And then, they have a timeline to be able to do that, and that there's, different facilitation tools to sort of create a discussion that can happen at school even. And so that I've seen some bridging the gap there of like, it's important that our students are, protected and safe, and that, unless there are safety concerns, that would involve, child protective services, for example, like that we would try to mediate and have a conversation with a student and their parents and, a counselor, that kind of thing, where it's like, this is important that we're all, on board, or that we're all on the same page here, because that's not conducive. So I have seen that argument, Dan, where, you're worried about how does that communication work in perpetuity, right? Of like, how do we make sure that everybody's on the same page? And so that is an argument against, I think, some of these policies that allow teachers to keep these sort of secrets. And, that you'd have to imagine that would be sort of difficult, and you'd be sort of dancing around some parent-teacher conferences and that kind of thing, right? That's got to be pretty difficult. Some of the communication home with parents would have to be pretty difficult. But I've written about policies where that was the case, whereas the school, sort of had a procedure for keeping things secret until the student was ready to go to their parents themselves and say, this is what is going on.
Brendan, this is another one of those stories that doesn't appear to look like it's going to go away anytime soon. We are out of time, but we will continue to cover this and all issues related to K-12 education at chalkboardnews.com. For Brendan Clary, I'm Dan McCaleb. Please subscribe, and thank you for listening.